Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Build an End-to-End Account-Based Strategy. I'm Claudia Tirico, Features Editor at Demand Gen Report, and I'll be your moderator for this presentation. You may be unfamiliar with Demand Gen Report. Here's some scoop. We are an online media company publishing daily news, a weekly email newsletter, special reports, original research, and a rich menu of additional resources. If you haven't done so already, join more than 50,000 subscribers to our weekly newsletter by subscribing to Demand Gen Report today. So the host of a premier live event in Scottsdale, Arizona every February. It's called the B2B Marketing Exchange, and it focuses on helping professionals improve B2B marketing and sales strategies and results. It's rated a top B2B marketing conference by Forbes every year. B2BMX brings 900+ marketers together for a 3-day educational and networking event that includes more than 85 sessions throughout 6 topical tracks. You can learn more about this unique event and sign up for updates at b2bmarketing.exchange. And be sure to follow our hashtag B2BMX on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook for updates and special offers. We also invite you to become a part of our online community of B2BM experts where you can connect with like-minded professionals, join in B2B-focused conversations and initiatives, and even compete for some really cool prizes. Check out our thriving community at b2bmx.influitive.com/join/now. We're also hosting a special sweepstakes throughout this week-long series where attendees could win Starbucks gift cards and a free ticket to our annual B2B Marketing Exchange. So if you register for an SPS 18 webinar, you'll automatically be entered for a chance to win. And if you attend any sessions live, you'll receive a second entry. We'll be giving away 1 Starbucks gift card per session, 1 B2BMX free pass per day. So be sure to attend all of this week's SPS 18 sessions for your best chance to win. Presentation, we're using the On24 platform, and during the session you can access all of the information you need from the platform toolbar. During and after today's session, please follow along and share your thoughts and feedback on Twitter and LinkedIn using the hashtag SPS18. You will also see that you can tweet directly from within the On24 platform using the Twitter widget on the left-hand side of your screen. We also encourage you to ask our presenters questions, and to do so, simply click the Q&A widget at the top right corner of your screen. Today's session is slated to run about 25 to 35 minutes with about 10 minutes for Q&A following, and you can submit your questions anytime using this Q&A widget. The session today is also being recorded, so all attendees will receive an archive link to it, and so you could be able to go back and review or share with colleagues. We also welcome you to let us know how we're doing by taking a very brief survey that will automatically launch once this webinar session ends. You can even pull up, complete, and submit the survey at any time during the webinar by clicking on the survey icon circled here on the bottom of your screen. Please take a moment to complete this quick questionnaire before signing off today. Now to introduce our featured speakers, Todd McCormick and Derek Slayton of Terminus. Todd is the Chief Revenue Officer at Terminus and leads the sales and customer success teams. Prior to Terminus, he successfully led the sales team at Silverpop, nearly doubling company revenue in less than 2 years prior to its acquisition by IBM. Before Silverpop, he was a sales executive at both PGI and CareerBuilder. Derek is the CMO of Terminus and a global B2B product and marketing leader with more than 20 years of experience. Before joining Terminus, Derek was GM and Global Leader of Sales and Marketing for Dun & Bradstreet, CMO of Net Prospects, VP of Marketing at VM Turbo, and held leadership roles at Citrix Systems, Reflectant Software, and EnterAssist Networks. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass things off to Derek to kick off the presentation.
Hey, thanks a bunch, Claudia. This is Derek here, and it's great to be introduced and be with you guys. I'm here with my counterpart, Todd McCormick from Terminus, and we're here, as you can see from the slide, obviously, to help you think about how to build an end-to-end account-based strategy as you think about taking your company into our next year here in 2019. And we're excited to lead you through how we think about that and hopefully get into as much detail as you need, but also looking forward to having you push us in the question and answer sections into areas maybe we didn't explore enough for you or we should have explored. So looking forward to that. So we're going to tee up the conversation here. And really, before we get into it too much, I just want to make sure I take a moment and reorient who Terminus is so you understand where we come from in this, in this journey. Really at our core, Terminus is a company based on a strong account-based belief. We have just a fundamental belief that account-based is a better approach in B2B, and we provide a software as a service offering that helps companies like you easily build, operate, and measure account-based go-to-market activities and strategies within your company. We've been around for a little more than 4 years. We're based in Atlanta. We also have offices out in San Francisco from the acquisition we made of BrightFunnel earlier this year. And we've got companies spread all over our employees spread all over the country, like me, up in Boston and other places supporting the business. We started the company based on this concept of flipping the funnel, which we'll get into in a few more slides here. But it's really about how do we help companies drive better, more aligned targeting with a focus on digital engagement. And the origins of the company was really focused on how do you reach a better audience with more relevant content through digital channels, and how do you do it with better awareness of where that company is in relationship to your company. So as opposed to looking at it at a lead-based approach, it's really about how well does that company know your company. Are they just coming into your funnel, or are they somewhere in your sales process, and then helping you make sure that the content you serve to them is relevant and informed based on that data. Over time, our solution has gotten a lot broader. We've recognized that there are other things that folks need to do to be successful in account-based initiatives, usually focusing on what we call our T.E.A.M framework, and that is how do you target the right companies and segment the right parts of the market, and then how do you engage and activate them through the marketing and sales process, and most importantly, how do you measure results at the end of the day. So we're going to go through a little bit of that in the session today. We're going to talk a bit about how we've implemented some of this internally, and I'll also talk a bit about how our account-based platform is helping our customers do the same in their organization, so you can take that into yours as how you think about account-based initiatives going forward for you and your company. And lastly, we'll talk a bit about some of the important ways to think about how you measure and report on the results of these initiatives. Okay, and then as I mentioned, and Claudia mentioned, we'll get into questions at the end, and you can obviously submit those, and we're looking forward to answering those at the end of the session. So, we've really hung our hats on this concept of rethinking B2B marketing and sales. Too much focus, in our opinion, can be put on this concept of leads, and that really fails to understand where the optimal segments of the market actually are for your solution. And it also, I think more importantly, creates this dissonance between marketing and sales, where marketing is focused on lead counts and conversion rates of those leads, whereas sales, as I'm sure Todd can attest, is much more focused on things like revenue driven from accounts. And I really feel like that's what has been our belief from the beginning here at Terminus, is how can we help drive an account-based understanding for relationships in the market, and an account-based understanding for how you segment and target in the market, and an account-based understanding for how you're measuring what you're doing as a marketing and sales organization. And ABM can obviously be many things, from one-to-one relationships at the top of the pyramid all the way through more broad-based programmatic efforts that reach more accounts in more scaled ways. But the principles of account-based initiatives remain consistent, and we believe firmly that the framework that we have around what we built in our platform really helps customers think about how to do that in a scalable, measurable way. And what's really driving this, and I'm sure you've heard this a couple of times in many different places, is a few things. One is this fundamental change in what leads actually are. The buyer journey is now obviously less in our control as vendors than it ever has been, and more in the hands of people making the decisions inside of companies. And also many of the participants in the buying decision are not necessarily the folks that are going to raise their hands or fill out a form on the web in a digital world. And it really is driving us to have to focus more on a couple things. How do we persistently and consistently deliver a value message out in the wild to the accounts that have high propensities and high digital body language to be interested in what we can do? And then also, how do I drive engagement and focus on the best fit companies that are showing the right activity for our marketing and sellers to be working even harder to spend time with those accounts? And that's really what is driving a lot of the things that we're seeing out in the market. And as we get into how we help solve those challenges, it's probably a good idea to take a step back and just share with you how we looked at this internally within Terminus and how we drove our transformation around account-based. And to do that, I think it's to have Todd speak to it since he drove a lot of it. And much of the way we look at this is how does marketing and sales partner up to be more successful in the market. So with that, we'll bring in Todd, the big guy, to share with you how we looked at this at Terminus, and then we'll get into some of the more detail on how our product helped us do it.
Great. Well, thanks, Derek. Appreciate that. And, you know, it's an exciting time to be a B2B marketer and a B2B sales professional. I think it's a great opportunity for organizations to look at how they're going to market, where their inefficiencies might lie, and where ABM really might fit in you know, to their strategy to optimize. And that's what I was asked to do basically 2 years ago, join the organization, and you know, very familiar with Terminus. I thought, you know, walking into the doors, I'd be walking into an organization that was executing ABM better than any other organization out there. But like so many other software companies, you're oftentimes the last one to be actually using your solution. And so I put a bold task in front of the organization, said if we're going to be leaders in this space, we need to be doing this better than anyone else. So, you know, let's step back and let's reassess, you know, how we're going to market and where leveraging an ABM first approach and tools surrounding that would really make sense. Sounds easy in concept, but you know, just like other organizations, you know, we were high growth, driving a lot of opportunities in through your traditional means. We're doing a little bit of ABM, but again, I really wanted to be, you know, best in class and actually leveraging you know, the research and time spent with our customers to do it ourselves. And so within that, you step back and what do you have to change? You know, who do you need to get aligned in the organization? And that's where I started. And the alignment started with marketing. You know, we both agreed that we need to be doing this better than anyone else, but we needed to make sure that we were being measured on the same expectations. Ultimately, it came back to not only just, you know, pipeline expectations, but let's both be held accountable to you know, our revenue goals. And so we agreed on that. And then what we started to do is backtrack into how are we going to get to those revenue expectations. We looked at historical conversion rates all the way from our first meeting, you know, all the way through, and said if we were bringing in the right fit accounts that were in market at the right time, where do we believe you could make an impact to these metrics? And so we forecasted some additional conversion metrics, impacts to those on a positive side, which then caused us to actually reduce quotas for our SDRs. The goal wasn't volume, the goal was quality. And so I sat down with the CFO and walked her through the math, say if we can slow our SDRs down, if they can, you know, if they can be more personal in their outreach and they're only reaching out to accounts that were, you know, in our fit model, that were showing intent and engaged in our content, here's the impact that would have on our business. So it was an easy really analysis to do, you know, less easy on selling your CFO on a whole new approach, but we were able to do that, you know, fortunately here, and so we were able to reduce those quotas, change the commission structure a bit to focus on quality. Once we were able to do that, then it was looking at, you know, our tech stack, say, okay, how are we going to create this flywheel approach that I like to call it, where it's marketing is going to select the accounts, not sales. It's not just a guessing game around accounts, but how do they select those accounts? How do we create meaningful content to drive engagement? And then what tools will our SDRs and sellers be armed with to take that even, you know, further? And so we did a tech eval. You know, part of this, we used some technology to help us identify our accounts. We were a massive were serving a massive market. We had to really reduce the number of accounts. So we followed the model of fit, intent, and engagement. We used some fit technology, then we used Bombora for intent, and then our own product to drive some engagement alongside LinkedIn. And that kicked off, that engagement data actually kicked off cadences for our SDRs. And within that cadence, we really broke that down to how personalized could they get. Could they spend a little bit of time, on the net, looking for different attributes around the buyers in that audience to create a personalized email or video to send out, and really run a 12-step process to get those individuals to convert. The last piece, I come back to measurement. You can set all of this up, yet in today's world, if you're measured on leads and you're not measured on opportunity creation, acceleration, and revenue, you need to fix that, because those are the metrics that are important, all the way to the board level. But it's, most of the companies that we're working with, their KPIs are lead-based, and we're actually educating people on, a new set of metrics, which we'll go into a little bit later on. But it's key to have the right visibility into those metrics so you can come back and you can continue to optimize. So Derek and I are, right as we're planning 2019, we're going through all of our metrics and looking at where our conversion metrics are and where are we optimizing, whether that's optimizing towards, segment, towards vertical, or could be down to individual rep level. So it's an organization-wide transition to ABM. It's not to scare anybody, but it's ultimately, there's some things that you need to look at differently, but it starts with sales and marketing doing this together in a line. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dan.
Yeah, no, thanks, Todd. And I think one thing that rings true as you listen to Todd explain what we went through here is that this is a complicated set of things that we're trying to drive when you make that evolution to start looking at part of your go-to-market around an account-based methodology. And so much of the market feels like it's buzzword oriented, and when you get into the practitioner level, as I'm sure you all would identify with, it gets complicated quick, and really you need a framework and a tool set to help you drive and scale and manage these things. And also, a better way to have a new lexicon and conversation across marketing and sales with the business as to what we're doing and how we're measuring it. And I think that leads directly into how we think about our framework here at Terminus, this framework we call the T.E.A.M concept, which is really both a philosophy and methodology for us around aligning and teaming between marketing and sales, and also an ideal framework for us to think about the capabilities that we deliver inside of our solution as part of the Terminus platform, and that help you establish, run, and measure these initiatives. And the core of what we're trying to do with this solution really is to make it easier for you as a practitioner to implement account-based programs. And it's one that is incredibly focused on making sure it works within the existing marketing automation and CRM and content systems and data that you have in place. One that you can iterate quickly from the learnings you get from the initial stages. One thing we've learned time and time again with our customers is that, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, and you need the ability and the tool set to be iterative and continually evaluating what's working, what's not working, and what can be tuned and optimized across your marketing mix within your account-based programs. And then lastly, one that is, relentlessly focused on helping you account for and measure the successes that you're having from the programmatic efforts that you're driving. And that really is what we look at when we think about T.E.A.M. How do you target the best customers? How do you engage with them consistently, persistently across channels? How do you activate sales in an intelligent way based on information that we're collecting through that process? And how do you measure the results to drive long-term relationships with the customers that are your best customers? And that's really what our philosophy is all about, and it's what our product platform is really built to do. So let's dig into it more deeply, with hopefully not going too deep. We're certainly willing to do that with you directly, but in the context of this webinar, just touch on the highlights. When we think about target, how do we help you align around the best fit segments and the best fit accounts within those segments based on the first-party data that you have about where you've sold and where you've been successful or haven't been successful, intelligence that we have about accounts and their digital fingerprints out in the market so that you can understand more about how to identify them more appropriately, and also third-party data sets, as Todd mentioned, that help give you better filtration and targeting capabilities around the behavior that they're showing in the market, or the type of company that they are, or the geographic fit for your problem. And really then, how do you ring-fence those accounts for various programs that are going to be hopefully more successful than just taking a leads-based approach to them. And there's a heavy interaction here, as Todd mentioned, between marketing and sales in using a tool set that helps identify those target accounts, and then being able to iterate and move that target as we learn from what's happening in the market. When we think about it, this is where we prime the pump. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really about driving pervasive, consistent messaging across channels and broadly across the buying teams within those accounts, so that you show up, your brand promise shows up in their browser, in their email, in their voicemail, and maybe even on their desk through a 3D dimensional mailer, among other channels, so that you can present a value-based proposition and understand what their business challenges likely are, and present your unique capabilities to those challenges in a way that shows up out when they're looking for that information in the wild. And we think about our engagement capabilities as being a command center. We do a fair amount of execution within digital channels, but we also use other arms and legs that you have in your MarTech stack to reach those accounts and individuals at those accounts through other mechanisms as well. And that's what we're trying to do with Engage, is really surround those target accounts with our value message in a place where they're looking to consume it, so that we can drive that engagement spike that we're looking for, that indicates they're ready to learn more about what we can do for them. And that's really where we think activating that relationship. And that's really, in most B2B environments, that's really about helping our sellers engage with relevance at a timely point. And who better to talk to that than Todd? It's what he does every day. So Todd, I'll turn it back over to you here and have you share with the folks how we think about activation, both in our platform and within our process.
Yeah, I tell you, this was an area in which many companies, where that kind of failure point lied within shifting from a lead-based to account-based program. Traditionally, it was sales was activated on form fills. Well, as Derek mentioned earlier, most of the buyers that you want your sellers engaged with aren't filling out those forms. And so, through a platform like ours, it's actually giving you signals into those unknown members of that buying committee who are actually leaning into your content, engaging, in product pages, pricing pages, whatever, relevant content you think is meaningful. Providing those signals to your sellers is so powerful. In today's market, where you have a lot of people that are shopping online, most of your reps don't know who that is and who's engaging. Well, we've solved for that. And so to serve an SDR up, on a real-time basis, the VP of marketing at XYZ firm that you were going after is all over, this product page. Giving that information to a seller and SDR, all it is just increasing their conversion rates and helping them prioritize their outreach for the day. So much so, when we first rolled this out, it was like every Monday morning these reports were coming out, and our SDRs were sitting there right next to marketing saying, "Give me the goods." Now it's automated in their workflow, and they're getting that whenever that activity actually happens. But oftentimes it's one outreach, one call, or one email, or one personalized video, and those things are converting for our sellers. So it's powerful, but the key is making sure that this data resides where your sales professionals are operating day in and day out, and that to me is the most critical component, is making sure it's part of their current workflow, which we've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly. And so much of the value there is not just at the individual level, but at the account level. So where are we seeing broad engagement across an account, as opposed to where are we seeing a person do a thing which may or may not be indicative of an account that's willing to move versus a person who's just doing some research. So, I think that ability to aggregate. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's a great comment. I think one other thing that people are missing in this equation, this isn't just about net new demand. When you can actually give your sellers intel throughout that buying process, so they're like mid-opportunity, and to your point, there's several other people from that buying committee engaging in your brand through, a variety of ways. It's just, it's powerful signals to give your team, while they're, mid-stage opportunity and not just, net new. So great point there.
Yep, exactly. And then, lastly, to complete the word, obviously, team, comes measurement. And, really nothing is important without being successful here, because if we can't show back in today's world where we're being successful and why we're being successful, we all know it just becomes increasingly difficult to continue to command the budget and the resources that is required to run these things effectively. And at the end of the day, we do believe we built our business on it, and we certainly have helped our customers build their go-to-markets on it, that an account-based approach can drive better results. But like I said, if we can't show the CFO or the CMO or the sales lead or even the CEO how we're moving the needle, then we're going to struggle to get what we deserve in terms of resources and budget heading into the next planning session. And I think a lot of this is, not only which account-based programs are more successful in driving business outcomes, revenue, pipeline, et cetera, versus others, how those account-based initiatives are measuring up against, quote-unquote non-account-based initiatives. We certainly don't believe that most companies will go all in on account-based, but certainly we see a number of companies that are looking at dual funnels and measuring account-based versus more traditional marketing approaches. So how are we measuring that? And then within a program, which aspects of the program or which components of the segment are delivering better than others, so that we can continue to iterate and refine and get better over time. So having that ability, that measurement ability, built into the framework, built into the platform, was really core to us being able to help our customers not only be successful, but show their success and learn from their success very granularly. And as Todd mentioned, a number of these programs aren't always, net new customer acquisition oriented. They're also, pipeline acceleration oriented or retention and growth oriented within our customer base. So really being able to measure those things individually and then highly discreetly is very important to the framework as well. So as we think about measurement and to get towards the end of the presentation today, maybe it would be good, Todd, if we shared with the folks how we measured our success here and what we saw from our own initiative here at the end of the day from our account-based evolution.
Sounds great. I mentioned earlier I had to actually, go to the executive team and really make a play for us to go in all in ABM, so much so that, I told the CEO, I said, this doesn't work, you can fire me. That's how much I believe in this movement. So fortunately today I am still employed, and it really is because of the results you see here. We were able to drive 125% increase in our conversion rates from really stage one of our sales process through close one. And that was from bringing good fit, but also helping our teams accelerate deals by running ABM programs throughout that opportunity life cycle. We were also able to reduce our sales cycles by 20 days and increase our average contract value by 35%. So powerful, and I don't think there's a sales and marketing professional out there that wouldn't love to see these results. The last one for us, is just being an ABM organization, is just that true all-in mindset around here. I mean, it was alignment between sales and marketing, which we nailed, but also broader. I mean, our product team that was building the product, when they saw the results that we were getting out of our own solution, when, the finance team to, support. I mean, just across the board for our organization, there's excitement around what we were actually able to, accomplish internally and, continue to share externally. So all in all, we're in on this. We're helping over 600 companies really execute an ABM strategy just like, we did. So we're excited about where we're headed. I was fortunate enough, over a year ago to spend some time with Jeremy over at Pramada, walked him through, step by step everything that we did as an organization, and he followed that journey for his own organization, and it's just received, been seeing tremendous results. Their company's growing really nicely right now. So if you don't believe me, talk to Jeremy. He basically replicated what we did over here and having a ton of success. So with, Derek and I thank you all for joining today's call. I think we are going to turn it over to the audience now for Q&A.
Yes, thank you both so much for that really great presentation. Those were some really impressive results. It did spark some good questions, but before I get to those, I'd like to remind everyone once again to please share your thoughts and feedback before logging off today. You can access that by clicking the survey icon on your screen. It will also automatically launch when the session ends. All right, so let's get to those questions. First one, how should we be thinking about measurement when it comes to our account-based programs? What targets should we be setting, and what KPIs should we be tracking?
Yeah, so this is Derek. I can start that off, and Todd, if you want to add anything, please do. I think there's a couple things, and Todd touched on a number of them actually when we looked at the results that both we had and Jeremy at Kamada had, and our customers have had using the platform. I think obviously there's the big ones around revenue, ASP, the size of your deals, and your ability to accelerate deals in a faster fashion through your pipeline. But for us in marketing, the one metric that we're increasingly focused on is this engagement metric. So how can we get companies that we believe are the best fit for our solution engaged with our content and our brand in a way that gives our sellers the ability to feel confident that they can take them through the journey, that they're ready to be taken through the journey. So, I think it's the big ones around revenue and outcomes, but also focusing more on this engagement metric, which is discretely measurable within our platform, as a way to show where marketing is moving the needle within our target accounts that we as marketing and sales agree we should be focused on.
Great. All right, have another good one here. What engagement is driven in the Terminus platform, and are you looking at it at the account level or at the individual level?
Yes, sure, Derek, I'll take this one.
Sure.
So really, traditionally, for us, it's been, engagement coming through just, advertising, and so are we serving ads to, the right personas and the right accounts at the right time, and we can track, engagement, signals from all of those personas that are part of that, buying committee. Now, not all of those personas are going to fill out that form or click through that ad, and so the nice thing around our expanded platform is not only are we, tracking, really the anonymous, engagement, but we're also able to marry that with your, marketing automation system and actually show you known engagement. So it's a nice blend now between seeing what's happening in the, out there online with the anonymous. Those not willing to fill out the form, and those that are actually, filling out the form. And when you marry those things together, you get a complete view of just that overall engagement that you're driving through your marketing programs.
Yeah, and it's Derek. I think the only thing I would add there, Todd, is also when folks think about the Terminus platform, there are. So I think the question might also be driving it, like, what do we do versus what do they rely on other technologies that they already have to do. And I think there are pieces where we actually drive digital ads, in a really great way that's going to maximize your spend and maximize your reach within accounts and people that you should be reaching. And then there's other ways where we help trigger activities in other systems that are going to support that brand promise and that advertising play that you're making out in digital channels as well. And to Todd's point, kind of bringing it all back together from the measurement standpoint as to where those accounts are engaging across those channels.
Great, really interesting stuff. I think we have time for one more question. Here's a good one. How do you track engagement with your digital ads at the account level and at the individual level?
Yeah, so it's as we mentioned, it's really both, and both without both, you're kind of struggling a bit, in our opinion. The ability to see where companies are both seeing and engaging with digital content, whether it's an ad or other piece of digital content that they're seeing, and bringing that back to the account level is what we believe is driving the right level of intelligence around where that account is kind of on the continuum. Obviously with some of the digital ad spaces, we have to be very careful about personal privacy, and we can't track individual activities there. But where individuals are showing activity on the website and they do raise their hands, we do the lead to account mapping so that we can show all of the engagement at an individual level and at an account level. But at the high level, we really like to show how is a given account showing a higher level of engagement today than they were before we started driving marketing and sales programs at them. Because that actually, for me, is the delta is the best indicator of where marketing and sales are being successful. Where they were before we put them in the account-based program to where they ended up after 2 months of being targeted through multiple channels with great messaging that was relevant to them.
Great. Well, that's all the time we have for questions today, but please keep them coming and we'll make sure your questions get answered after the session. Again, for such a great presentation, and thank you to all of our attendees for taking the time to join us today. Please be sure to check out our next session. It's called How to Leverage Funnel Metrics and Attribution Data for Your 2019 Planning. It kicks off tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see everyone there.